Welcome to our podcast. This is the DorkDate podcast. Today we're talking about Rick and Morty, specifically Rick and Morty Season 3, but I'm sure we're going to finagle our way on over to Season 1 and 2.
You think?
The references will come up. I'm not saying we're going to go review every episode, but...
Okay.
So if you guys don't know, I'm Elliot, and
I'm Kenya.
We're at DorkDate. So what do you want to talk about first?
Let's go over the episodes. So I have very minimal notes that Elliot already knows about each episode. Yeah, he can't read it. So episode 1, released early.
Our secret April Fool's episode that nobody even believed.
Oh, it was April Fool's?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. We got...
Do you want me to just
Do you have the title of the episodes here?
Nope.
Why would you not have the title of the episode?
Didn't think about it. Episode 1. Rick escapes from prison.
Yeah.
This
was
it's
the Rick Shank Redemption.
Yeah. Watching this, I was a little bit disappointed.
What?
I was excited for it to come back. I was excited that they fixed everything, I guess, at the end. But at the end of the last season, I was like, holy shit, things are getting real. Oh my god, Rick's fucking his whole life over for these guys, you know?
Yeah.
And then they were just kidding, which, makes sense for it. What else would they have done? It would have been boring otherwise, but...
I feel the exact same way. I feel like that at the end of Season 2, they teased us with this huge, show-changing revelation about how the aliens were, controlling the galaxy right now. Did you follow any of the social media stuff for Rick and Morty in between the seasons?
Maybe.
So
but it was
basically they had this entire Rick and Morty subreddit where that Earth got added as part of the Federation, and they had this alien Twitter and stuff like that, and it was almost like a constant stream of I
kind of forgot because it was run by aliens the whole time, and then as soon as he got out, everything was fixed.
Which I loved how he did.
I forgot about that.
I loved how he. I liked the whole episode, the sequence, him escaping, the whole dream, Inception situation where Rick was lying. I
really liked it. It was very clever, and for me, it felt more like a seriously look how powerful Rick is.
Yeah, which is always fine in Rick and Morty, showing how crazy jacked Rick is. But, I do understand how frustrating it is that for one episode in, everything's reset, basically. That's pretty shitty.
And that's kind of how the whole season felt for me.
Kind of how the whole show feels for me, and we'll get into that later.
Okay.
But,
moving on. Episode 2, Summer and Morty act out is my notes.
So,
Apocalypse world.
This is when Summer and Morty are trying to handle their divorce with Jerry, or Beth and Jerry's divorce.
Yeah, their divorce with Jerry.
Whatever.
Because, as we forgot to mention, they got divorced at the end of the first episode.
Oh, was that at the end of the first episode?
I think so, right?
Okay. Yeah, I don't really remember.
So they go to, this apocalypse world, and they're just, killing.
It's Mad Max, basically.
Yeah.
And it was okay. I try to remember, Morty had the plot where he got the buff arm. Yeah. That was pretty funny. And there's so many, masturbation gags.
Oh, also, if you haven't noticed already, spoilers.
Fuck you. If you're watching the podcast about Rick and Morty Season 3, you're going to be spoiled on Rick and Morty Season 3.
Okay. Anyway.
I thought that was just a great visual gag. And I like how the arm had its own personality, too. Morty's, communicating with it and stuff like that.
And Summer, ended up being in a relationship with the main dude.
Yeah, and that was okay, too.
It was fine. It made me kind of sad, though. The only thing they could think to do with the girl is to make her be a sad bitch wife.
But she wasn't just a sad bitch wife in the beginning. She was badass and
killing.
And then
at first, they were all badass and killing, and then she immediately got out of it to get into a relationship.
But that wasn't just what happened. Rick gave the entire place power, and he was saying that with a little bit of energy, everything that's fun and interesting just breaks down. Yeah. So I don't know.
And that happened.
But I thought that was pretty boring of a plot. I wouldn't say it's classic woman or whatever.
I wish they would have done something different with her. I don't know.
Honestly, they could have reversed the roles of Morty and Summer, and that would have been just fine. But I also think it was how they were... Because, Morty could have been in a relationship with somebody, and Summer could have had a buff arm.
No one would have thought anything about that, though,
It would have been hilarious if Morty took, a wifely role. That would have been so funny.
I don't know.
I would have thought that was funny. But, again, I don't know. It was an okay episode for me. It was funny. Again, this is a comedy, so they're consistently funny.
But it was, not... because the April Fool's episode was, so good and so crazy, and then we had to wait so long for the next part.
It was a little bit underwhelming.
Yeah,
I definitely agree with that.
Moving on to episode 3, Pickle Rick.
Okay, so Pickle Rick was so fucking teased. Pickle Rick. Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the season promos they had where you go in the garage and be like, Morty, I'm a pickle. I turned myself into a pickle.
Out of it, I guess.
And, get with it. I thought it was a good episode. I thought that... First of all, can we talk about the animation, the choreography, that entire scene where Rick is finally getting his rat body killing all the rats, and then finally breaking into that Russian place and killing all those guys. It was just great. It was a gore fest, but it was just so fluid and nuts. And then there's the Jaguar guy out of nowhere. Remember him at all?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, his look on your face was very like...
I had to think about it a second.
Are we even talking about this right show?
No, I had to think about it. I was mixing up BoJack and this. Even though he's not a jaguar, he's just a cat. But anyway, so yeah, I like this episode a lot because it was like a mix of like crazy cool Rick power and, you know, silly pickle Rick action.
And also the family.
With, like actual family drama.
And I loved
and personal
the
drama.
Therapist in this episode because it was the one professional adult person in the show who had zero bullshit. It was just super real. She just pegged Rick and pegged Beth right there. And I liked how it showed how Beth was like deflecting about everything. Like, oh, the only problem in our life is the kids being shitty, and we're here to talk about Morty pissing himself. And Summer, what was Summer doing? Drugs or something?
I think she was like fighting or something.
No, she was huffing glue in art.
Oh yeah,
like that. Yeah, and I thought that I love the whole therapy scene. I love how Rick finally came, and I thought it was all really good. And I like at the end, Beth and Rick are kind of just like, oh well, we may have learned lessons this year. Nah, and then they just like went and got drunk and ignored the kid and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know. So the next episode was Vindicators 3.
All you have to say about that is I don't know.
Well, because it just goes into bigger themes that I want to talk about later about how shitty everyone is.
So yeah, Vindicators 3. Morty and Rick get summoned by the Vindicators, which is space avengers of their universe, and
Morty finds out that he missed their second mission. He blames Rick, and everyone hates Rick, and then
Rick's an asshole.
Turns out to be Jigsaw.
Then Rick gets drunk, and Jigsaw's everybody, and even Jigsaw's himself. That was so funny.
Yeah.
Because he's just wasted and he's doing everything.
That was one of my favorite episodes.
And I loved how it showed how many times Morty had to, like, defuse Rick's bombs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, that you talk about...
Like, that's one of the moments where you really see, like, how far Morty has come since the beginning.
Yeah, because in the beginning, first, Morty is this basically, like, just, like...
shell of a person.
Yeah, and he's just so stupid and so slow and has zero opinion whatsoever. And, you know, now he's able to argue intelligently with Rick. Fucking Rick, who's like, you know, the smartest guy in the galaxy. So I appreciate that. You know, I mean, I guess you hang out with Rick every day, you kind of get a little hardened.
Yeah.
So, you know, I like.
But also, it shows me that he's like different from other Mortys too, because when you do go back and see like the Citadel and shit, like they're all treated the same and they all act the same. They all act like stupid Gen 1 Mortys. That are
not all of them, but like most. of them.
No, but yeah, most of them.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought that was good. I thought it was sad how everything Morty like hoped for in superheroes was deconstructed and like made to not be real at all. I thought the Vindicators themselves were kind of lame. I like the Million Ants guy. He was pretty funny.
I forgot about him.
Yeah.
He was funny.
I saw this meme where it was like Million Ants. How would he wear pants? And it was like one big pair of pants or like thousands of little pants.
Like the
for
dog
each ant.
thing.
Yeah. And then I also liked how I liked and simultaneously hated how Rick built the very end of the thing, and it was basically going to be Rick confessing how much he loved Morty, like this whole thing about all their adventures, and then it was Noob.
Yeah, the janitor.
Yeah, and I love that, but I also fucking hated that. It was just like so much of a tease. We can get back to that later, but that's my recurring theme. So what's next?
So my notes for episode 5 are giant summer because Beth sucks as mom. And then Jerry and Rick hang out, and Jerry tries to kill Rick, or almost tries to kill Rick.
Okay, so basically
ends up saving Rick.
Summer tries to get some bigger boobs because she's jealous about this one chick, and she ends up gigantifying herself. Gigantifying herself.
I don't know.
Growing large, and then she gets turned inside out.
Gargantuanizing.
Yeah, grossing herself. Anyway, she gets turned inside out too.
Yeah, and then Morty's like, "No, Mom, this is your fault. Fuck you," and she like won't.
She breaks the phone eventually.
She won't call Rick about it.
No, but I mean, she like gets so far like into it that she actually breaks the phone, like, so they can't even call Rick.
And then she ends up turning herself big, and then it's assumed that they get out of that mess.
So my thing is that Rick's always saying, "Oh, Beth, you're super smart, but like she's not as smart as Rick by a long shot."
No.
And so what is he saying?
And it's even like assumed that she's not even really like that smart. Like she's like not great at her career, you know?
You just said she's good at her career.
No, but there's like other episodes where they talk about her being a vet, and it's like, oh, I'm like, okay. I don't know. I don't have any exact lines or exact scenes, but
I just got
the feeling that I got was like, oh yeah, I became a vet and how nice that is, but I don't actually really do anything and I'm not great in my field.
What I got is that she's just not a doctor, and that's the whole thing. Like, she's a vet, but she's not a doctor. Yeah, I don't know. But I also feel like she hasn't lived her entire life being a crazy scientist person, so she probably hasn't had an opportunity to flex those muscles, I guess.
Yeah.
I thought the episode was okay. I liked Rick and Jerry's whole deal. I thought that can't kill yourself land was pretty funny. Set itself up for a lot of gags. I thought it was good. Especially like the crazy melding trip they had on the way back, where Rick, Jerry, and the other guy are all like unstuck during the time thing, and they all become one person at the end, and then afterwards they're just like fine. I thought that was silly.
I kind of forgot about that.
And then I liked
this was one of my least favorite episodes of the season.
Yeah, it was okay, but not like great. And I also liked in the end how like Morty was talking to that boy who the one Summer was upset about in the beginning. They were at the campsite. And he was like, basically like, your marshmallow's burning, Craig, and whatever. He was like all intimidating and stuff like that. I like that. Again, it shows that Morty's just
growing.
Well, yeah, and also becoming much more of an intimidating person.
Yeah.
Okay, so next is
next episode 6. Rick and Morty take a break.
Nice.
They go to the spa, and all of their bad parts get flushed down this machine
into
dimension
the
toilet.
ooze.
Is it a different dimension or is it a machine?
It's whatever. I think it's a machine.
Okay. And then they kind of go about their lives being good, and then they realize, fuck that, and their bad parts already realize, fuck that. And eventually they get all stuck back together.
Well, okay, that's a little bit simplified. But first of all, I love in the beginning how they finish that adventure, and then both Rick and Morty are just like mind fucked, like crying and freaking out, like they almost died. You know, it was nice seeing at least Rick have that kind of response to something.
Yeah.
Which I don't even know if that fits his character normally, but I like seeing that side of him.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I also like there's a lot of times this season where Rick like acknowledged that he was there was one of the in the later episodes where he says something like makes this weird catchphrase. He's like, I don't know why I said that, but I'm gonna stick with it. Wap-a-da-da, whatever. I don't know. So just I like seeing that Rick is not like this all knowing kind of guy, and he just kind of rolls with it because that's Rick's whole thing. I like that. I thought the spa idea was really cool. I thought the whole episode idea was really cool. I like how they split up and stuff like that. And they all kind of went to their like base parts. And I thought it was kind of sad that Morty was such a successful, happy person when he had his ooze taken out.
Yeah.
They had to trick him. They had to force it back into him, you know? I mean, here he was like a douchey Wolf of Wall Street kind of guy, but he wasn't like, he was happy. He was happy, and that's sad.
Yeah.
You know, they could have left Morty just be there, go get a different Morty, and that Morty could have been happy and successful, but no. I mean, I like seeing nice Rick, too. That was weird, but it was okay. I liked how their characters got, like, cleaner and, like, a little bit lighter after they got the ooze out.
I didn't notice that.
The art style changed just a very, very subtle amount. Was there a B-plot for that episode?
I mean, like, Morty had that girl, and then she gets stuck in the ooze. Remember? And then he starts trying to date that popular girl.
Oh, that's not really a B-plot. That's, like, a part of theirs. I'm talking about it was Rick, Jerry, or Beth in that episode. Or, I mean, not Rick, Jerry, Beth, or Summer in that episode at all, like, in any meaningful way?
I don't remember, but okay. I don't really think
I don't think it was either. I think it was just that.
Like, maybe, like, side, like, for a minute, but I don't know. Anyway, episode 7. Rick and Morty go to Atlantis. Riveting Atlantis.
I loved how they set that up. You know, because like on the Adult Swim Cartoon Network, or on the Adult Swim Cartoon Network page, or whatever, they had said like, get ready for next week. We're going to Atlantis. Get your boots and tridents and flippers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then they set it up right in the beginning, and then nothing else happens.
And then at the end, they were like, "What a nice self-contained episode."
Yeah, that was so great. I appreciated that.
But what we really see is the Citadel and
the aftermath of after Rick has killed all the Citadel members.
And how Rick's get along with Morty's and whatever, and at the end, evil Morty gets elected president.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. I thought there was tons of great Morty jokes. How every Morty's like when the cop Morty's trying to speak with the other Mortys, like in their vernacular, he's like, "Oh, geez." Mm-hmm. That was so funny. Because they're self-aware of like the tropes that Morty goes through and stuff like that. And I like how when they're talking to the shopkeeper, it's like, well, they look like, oh, you know, he was like a 6th grader, yellow shirt.
Yeah.
It was just goofy as hell. I got some really good laughs out of that episode. I like that the president's back. That was amazing. He's a cool character because, again, you see Morty, who's this weak little shit, and then Morty's growing, actual Morty, our Morty, is growing towards this intimidating, whatever.
And that's what one of the points that I was going to bring up later is that they're not, like, when we first meet evil Morty, it was, like, freaky. I was like, oh, no, what's he going to do to our Rick and Morty,
Yeah.
And then now I'm thinking, like, they're basically going to be, like, the same person by that point.
Yeah, and that's interesting, too. I'd like to see how that, plays out. Have you heard of the theory about the Rickest Rick and the Mortiest Morty?
No.
So, a lot of things say that the Rick we have on our show is the Rickest Rick. And he's mentioned that before. He's actually said I'm the Rickest Rick there is, whatever. And that's why he's so much better than the other Ricks. Yeah. And then they're also saying that evil Morty is the Rickest Morty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then I think they're trying to say that our Morty is the Mortiest Morty.
But that doesn't really make sense.
No, but not the way that the character arc that he's taking.
No.
So I'm not really sure about that either. But I mean, like, Morty's thing is that Morty's definitively, so far, been a good guy. He's done some terrible things, but, like, he usually really tries to have this redeeming quality. Yeah. But then, like, in the Purge episode in season 2, he goes crazy and goes bad. And, like, many times in this episode, he kills that guy with the arm. And, Morty's innocence has been flayed at this point, where he can't really be the good Morty anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought the episode was great. I thought all the gags with their different jobs and stuff like that were good. I liked the cop Rick and the cop Morty. That was funny. I like the election situation.
And I liked how it showed us that some Ricks are good. Like, the Rick was the one who was saying, no, you can't lie and you can't kill these people just for no reason.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because, I mean, they are individuals, essentially. And because, that was cool.
Like, especially, like, in the beginning of the episode and in most other parts of the episode, they did, like, a huge thing of, like, splitting up the different people. So all the Ricks were, like, in one spot, all the Mortys were in another spot, and whatever. And then they showed you, like, oh, no, actually, like, we need everyone for everything. So, like, we had, like, factory worker Rick, who was, like, sad.
Simple Rick. Yeah. That was so funny. Yeah, and then they had, like, Willy Wonka Rick next to him. And then they also had, like, Cop Morty, who's, like, grizzled and hard and stuff like that. And then they had, like, all the school kid Mortys. They were cute and sad. They had Lizard Morty and Fat Morty. Just Fat Morty inexplicably. That was so funny. And then they had Snape Rick. I like that.
It was cute. It was a good episode. Probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, I really like that one too.
Next episode 8, Morty's Mind Blowers. Also one of my faves.
I liked Morty's Mind Blowers a lot. I didn't love it only because it had the comparison to Interdimensional Cable. Yeah. And I think that it wasn't as funny as that. Not that it wasn't funny. That's all I'm trying to say. But Interdimensional Cable is just like sketch after sketch after sketch of like really goofy ass Justin Roiland and stuff. Yeah. And I like that. And not that I didn't like this. But
no, I really like that. But I also like it's more interesting for me to see what I'm missing. Yeah. You know? And like it's similar to how I feel like after I read a book that I'm very into. I'm like, man, I wish I could just like be here for just a normal day with them. You know, I would read another normal day or whatever, and then they show me like all these little things that I'm missing that aren't good enough to make a whole episode out of, but they're like good little tidbits, and then you do end up like learning a lot about each of them as people, you know?
Yeah, no, and I really like the episode did. I like that's super. It makes super much sense. Sorry, that was a weird sentence.
Super much sense.
Yeah, but yeah, because they're always referencing, this adventure. We're always going on adventures. Yeah. And I like how when they talk about adventures, it's not like because in the season 1 it was Rick. Okay, Morty, we have to go on an adventure, and then he just like grabs Morty and then like drags him along.
This time it was like that. Like he said that so many times, and it was more like feverish. Like he needed that adventure. Rick? Like he was losing Morty out of that adventure. Mm-hmm. And Morty was always like, no, I have other stuff to do. I just want to go to school today. Oh, this, oh, that, whatever. And then he was like, no, we have to go on this adventure. Like he felt like he needed it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and I like.
Whereas before it was like, okay, fine, I have to drag you along, whatever.
Like, but Morty was like getting dragged along out of fear, whereas now Morty's like, this fucking sucks, Rick. I don't really want to be part of this right now, And I think that really changed in the Vindicators episode because Morty was excited about it.
Yeah. And in this season, it feels more like Rick is like asking Morty, like, please, can we go on this adventure?
This is what we do. Are we sure you don't want to come?
No, not even that. Like, just like. I don't know.
Please
do you understand what I'm saying?
Kind of, yeah. Where it's more needy for Rick. Yeah. Yeah, I get what you're saying. So yeah, I thought Morty's Mind Blowers was good. I liked how realistically you gave somebody a blank slate and then put them through the things that Morty goes through. His first reaction is better kill myself. Mm-hmm. dark, but good. And I love how there's a contingency plan set up by Rick and Morty for this. Like, it happened multiple times.
Like a 3-stage one. Even.
Yeah, and someone's like, oh, you both lost your memory. Shit. And it's just like this simple fucking process. I thought that was so funny. And if she'd come in a couple seconds later, they both would have been dead.
Yeah.
You know? So that was good. I don't remember a lot of the flashbacks that they actually had. What I remember is that the guy has an afterlife, right? And then Rick's gonna kill him because he's a great warrior. And then Morty's like, how do you know? Whatever. And then guy's like having an existential crisis, and then he dies, and he actually does have like a hell and stuff like that. That was so funny. Like the things that Morty went through that made him like have those horrible feelings made sense. Like you'd be racked with guilt.
Yeah, but it was also interesting because they showed us that they were color coded based on why they were erased. So some of them were just embarrassing things he had done. Some of them were like fucked up shit things that he had done. Fucked up shit things. Nice. Anyway, and then some of them were things that Rick had done that were embarrassing that he didn't want Morty to remember.
I love seeing Rick humanized, and not humanized in the fact that Rick's like, because they're never gonna fully humanize Rick morally, or emotionally, I don't think, because Rick's always teasing that, and then it's like, oh, just kidding, I wanted Szechuan sauce, that was my only reason for doing that, etc., etc. But I like seeing Rick fuck up, because Rick's not perfect, and I like seeing Rick fuck up with little mistakes too. Like, what was the one? Take it for granted.
What?
Remember that?
No.
Rick and Morty were walking, and Rick was like, I shouldn't take it for granted, and Morty's like, what are you talking about? I heard you say
ticket.
Take it for granted, or granted. That was just so silly, because like Rick, smartest guy in the world, that's something easily to miss here, and he totally would wipe Morty's memory for that. It just shows how much he cares about his, people. He does care what people think of him, at least Morty. So I thought that was a real good episode.
I'm trying to think of any more of the actual flashbacks, but I can't.
Too.
It's fine. I mean, you get the point. And
I wonder if any of the episodes that
you would have already seen.
Yeah, I wonder if any of the episodes that we already have seen ended up being erased.
Oh, that's an interesting thought.
Purge Planet turned out pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
And like Morty getting molested by the Mayor Jellybean.
What?
I think he got raped by Mayor Jellybean. Remember that?
No.
What? So
what?
Okay, it's I think it's in season 1, but it might be in season 2, where Morty says, "Okay, Rick, listen, I want to choose this adventure." Okay. And they're like, okay, and so they go to this like fairy tale land where like there's Jellybean and candy people and stuff like that. You don't remember that?
No.
Yeah, and then at the
why don't I remember anything?
And the adventure's just like terrible and bad and stuff like that. Like they kill a giant on accident, it's super gory. And at the very end, they're like in a bar, and Morty goes to the bathroom, and this Jellybean guy walks in, and he like rapes him. And then he gets out later. And I think Morty eventually like elbows him and like gets out or whatever. And then the mayor, you find out the Jellybean is actually the mayor, and the mayor's like, you guys have to leave the town right now. And Morty's like really sad, like I don't want to talk about what happened to Rick. And so they all leave, and then Rick opens a portal back in and comes through and shoots the guy and then leaves again. You don't remember that?
No.
You don't remember Morty getting raped in season 2? Seriously?
No. Not even at all.
Okay, well, it happened.
But you know what I noticed about me is that
your mind has a season-long holding period that just completely flushes everything out.
Well, one, it happened a long time ago. There's a lot of time between each season.
Sure.
2, I watched it all as it came on and not again after that. And I should watch them again. I really liked them. But also, 1, I'm bad at names
and memories and people.
No. Like what I noticed when I was going back to season 1 and I restarted that, like I would forget everything until I would see like a certain like person, and I'd be like, oh yeah, this guy, whatever. But I wouldn't remember his name, and you'd be like, oh, you remember this guy, and I'm like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about.
You know that assassin I was talking about?
Yeah, what?
Crumbobulous Mike.
No.
See, that's the thing. I love goofy ass little names. Rick and Morty's perfect for that.
Yeah, but I just.
Would you remember Noob as janitor?
No.
It was this season.
I know, but if you had asked me what was that janitor's name, no, janitor. He was a janitor. I have no room in my mind for names. I don't know why.
Yeah. Which is why anime is rough.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're segueing here.
Okay, so episode 9 out of 10, by the way. Beth and her secret imaginary childhood world. Yeah.
So, the guy's father is getting executed. I almost said exterminated. Executed for eating his son. And you find out that his son was a childhood friend of Beth, and you find out that he actually got stuck in this imaginary dimensional world that Rick made for Beth as a kid, and you find out that Beth maybe shoved him in there and tried to kill him because Beth is maybe a psychopath.
Yeah, and you also find out that she doesn't remember that it's not
fictional.
Yeah.
Which makes sense as a kid. Like, I think I could easily come to.
Then she's like, "Oh my God, Dad, you have to get me back in there because this guy's still here." So then they both go in. They have like a little adventure. It's a very cute place.
Until you find out that it's all fucked up, a human DNA.
And this is another like Rick as a parent kind of moment of like, there's nothing in this world that could hurt you. Like, because at first she was like, "Really, you just gave me like an entire world
and put me in there."
Yeah, and he like tried to drown himself, and he was like, "See, I can't."
Yeah, but also later in he talks about how he admits that in that same episode he admits that he's like, "Listen, I'm not a great parent." He says that, like, I'm never claiming to be a great parent.
Yeah, this was their emotional father-daughter episode,
which I like because they've been talking about that since season. I mean, Beth was so fucked up over Rick leaving in episode 1 or season 1. That's the whole reason that he moved back in, and that's the whole reason that Jerry and her basically split up. I mean, Rick admits that he sabotaged their marriage in episode.
Oh, the Jerry one.
Episode 5. Yeah. So I thought it was Fruity Lane was great. When they finally find the kid, what's his name? Do you remember? Dave?
Is this a test?
No, I'm asking you.
I don't know.
I think it's Dave. It's so fucked up. He's like this crazy like.
But I think it's also funny because like during the part where he's like, "Oh, nothing can hurt you," he gets picked up like by this giant bird, and she thinks that he's fucking with him. But then they both, like, simultaneously realize, like, this big, like, oh, well, that must mean that someone's here, and that must mean that he's, like, having sex with the animals, so that they're people, so that they, like, are a loophole to the system, you know? And then they can hurt people and whatever, and it just felt like this big, like, scientific, no one would ever think of that, but then they both thought of it themselves, which is another, like, redeeming point for, like, Beth is smart, you know?
Yeah, I like that she had the same conclusion. And I like, too, that when she's in adventure mode and she's doing scientific stuff with Rick, she can come to those conclusions. Yeah. You know, because you never see her do that sort of thing. I mean, Beth is smart, but she's smart in, like, she was always presented as being smart in a different sort of way. Yeah. So I like that. I like the whole Tommy, his name is Tommy. I like the whole Tommy Fruity Land situation. I think it's super funny how they had the little baby kids do the entire play. Yeah. And then I love how he
just so fucked up,
he just mates and then eats the kids. I mean, it is so fucked up, and it's so fucked up how it's funny too because his dad was going to be executed because they thought he was a cannibal, and you find out Tommy actually is a gross incestuous cannibal, and like they had to kill him. Can you imagine somebody like that coming back into the world? I mean, he's been living there for like 40 years by himself, just mating.
Be interesting.
Be terrifying. That guy is fucked up. But I also like how Beth kind of went on a rampage and killed everything and everybody.
Yeah, so she ends up going back out, having her heart-to-heart with Rick, and then saying, "Fuck you, I'm gonna go save this guy," because Rick doesn't want any part of that.
And then she gets a bunch of gear and stuff like that. But also there's
so she goes in and she tries to talk him down, and then she decides, nah.
I don't know if it's that, but I also like the revelation before this because she's going through all the little stuff that she had Rick make as a kid, and it's all really fucked up things. And you find out that Kid Beth is pretty terrible of a person, pretty evil of a person.
And she blames that on just like a cry for help of please spend time with me, you know.
Which maybe is true. Yeah. But I like how Rick says he basically built Fruity Land so he could keep her under control. Yeah. He didn't kill neighbor kids and stuff like that. So that's interesting. And then, So
and then at the end, he offers to make her a clone because she's so, like, unfulfilled with her life. And he says the clone would be exactly like you. No one would be able to tell the difference. Have all of your memories, all your thoughts, all your feelings. And then you could just go travel the world. No big deal. Yep. And it's not clear whether or not she chose that. But then in episode 10, the president episode.
Real quick. Episode 9, Jerry dates an alien. All right, let's keep going.
Oh, really?
Remember that? No. That whole thing happened? The 3-boob lady?
I remember her, but I didn't remember that it was in that episode.
Yeah, that was the whole B-plot for that episode.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, and then in episode 10, they do a bunch of shit for the president, and...
Did you see a film theory about this? About episode 9? Matt Pat figured out that I think she wasn't cloned, at least at the end of episode 9.
Why? How?
Because there was a couple times where they showed clocks very heavily with specific times in the episode, and a couple things where they talk about, like, I don't know, I mean, again, it's film theory stuff, so we extrapolate a lot. But basically, that the only execution place in Seattle, and they already established that where they live is right outside of Seattle, is this many hours away, and it takes this long for the cloning process based on this thing, et cetera, that they wouldn't have time to get home. And they also said that instead of using the portal gun, it was clear they just drove home. I don't know, a couple other things, but you should watch it. It's interesting. And then he was basically saying, like, there's so many clock references in this thing, and they even at the end, remember they get pizza, Rick travels to a different dimension, and he's like, oh, just so you know, I didn't time travel right there, I went to a whole new dimension, there is no such thing as time travel, just so everybody's clear that, like, it was basically a statement, like, we are good at our time in this show. I don't know. Just something to think about.
Interesting.
So yeah, episode 10, sorry.
Do a bunch of stuff for the president, decide fuck the president, and at the end, well, throughout, Beth is like, oh my god, I am a clone, I'm not a clone, I am a clone, I'm not a clone. And they decide, okay, fuck Rick, we're gonna just do this as a family. She gets back with Jerry, and then Rick finds them and just tries to fix everything really sadly.
Let's talk about getting back with Jerry.
Yeah.
So she sits there and she goes and sees Jerry and stuff like that, and basically she says, I know I'm not the real Beth because I love you.
Yeah.
That's fucked up. Also, does that mean that she basically realized she's not a clone? I mean, I know Rick later tells her, you're my real daughter, but I don't know. That was pretty sad.
And she was saying, like, I can't be the real Beth as well because all of my memories of the thing that you just talked about, like their first kiss or whatever, were shitty. Like, I hated everything about that night. And
now I actually like it.
And now, when you're describing it to me, it's like, fun and exciting and wow.
Maybe that's because Jerry grew a little bit.
Yeah, but also, like, I don't think they probably ever communicated on that level, like, what was going through your head the first time.
That's true.
We went on a date the first time we kissed.
That's so true. So other than that, Rick is fighting the president. Let me tell you, this episode was teasing. Here we are again, saying Rick and the president have a confrontation. I thought it meant Morty president. I thought we were gonna get a crazy full-on explosion finale, and it was just their own president, which was a funny, great episode. I like how everything they did was like a shitty Rick off on things Rick has done. You know, like the shrinking and the portal, and I like how the portal was this whole process where all these
helicopters. You called it a Rick off instead of a rip off. You said Rick off. The whole time you were talking, I was trying to figure out what you meant by that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I liked it.
It's kind of a Rick off.
Yeah, it is. I liked it. I thought it was really funny. I liked how the president there was tons and tons of Easter eggs. There was Tupac's body in the White House. There was just so much stuff. They showed that September 11th was filmed, and so was the moon landing. Did you see all that?
No.
They're fighting through, and they had like little sets they were going by and stuff like that. Yeah, it was pretty funny. Let's see. I don't know. And then like the whole time again, it's Morty being like, I don't care about you right now, Rick. And then
the end is really sad because Rick is like, shit, everyone's back together and no one really needs me. Everyone's kind of sick of me. And then he like goes so far as to like pretend that he's a different Rick for the president. And like, even though he just did like the biggest fuck you to him saying, no, I'm never going to fight for you anymore. Whatever, he like goes through the trouble to pretend he's a totally different Rick and say, hey, I'll help you no matter what. It doesn't matter, just call me.
Yeah, and it's just, it was a tease. Because for the entirety of season 3, which has been a very plot-heavy season, these characters have been learning lessons and going through rough things and making changes. And I feel like Jerry and Beth getting back together was fine. That was okay. I feel like that they had an entire season divorced or split up. That's cool. But, like, we just didn't get any payoff. Rick just leaves. He did that in the end of season 2.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
He didn't leave.
He turned himself in and went to jail.
Oh, I thought you meant in this last season.
End of season 2. No.
Okay.
Well, no, I mean, like, so he didn't have leaving in season 3?
No.
Okay, that was the whole fly fishing Rick thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's staying.
Yeah, because you know that it's him because he goes back to the house and he gives Jerry his hat back. His fishing hat. Remember?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember.
And then he just, like, sadly sits there, and then they explain to him, hey, look, it's like season 1 again.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Yeah, I don't know. It just felt very teasy. It felt like we had all this set up for President Morty. We had all this set up for everybody to grow super lot, and they did grow, and then they just didn't change. Everything was reset.
Well, and the thing you told me about how they had planned for it to be 14 episodes.
And then Dan Harmon couldn't knock them out. No, I understand TV making episodes is hard, and I understand that it took a long time anyway. Yeah, I'm not knocking them for not being able to do it, but I'm upset, I guess, in the fact that they had an episode which was a fine stopping point, and it felt very, for a plot-heavy season, it felt very unsatisfying. And so, I don't know. Rick and Morty, at this point, is more than just a comedy. Okay? You've taken so much time to do character development and stuff like that. I don't like it when shows tease payoff and stuff like that. You know, I'm not saying tease it out. I'm not saying have a new revelation for a character every 3 episodes. You don't have to have it be a drama fest. But after three seasons, this third season took a long time to come.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then the next one's also not supposed to come out for like 2 years.
Yeah, because now President Morty, was that first season?
I don't know.
I'm assuming it's a finale. And I think it was first season.
I don't remember.
But either way, you know, I want to see that resolved. I want to see this go a little bit. I want to see some actual stakes. You know,
because it's hard only having like 10 episodes. It's like 30 episodes total over the course of more than 3 years.
Yeah, that's not very much. I know. I understand that this is a kind of show where, you know, a lot of stuff's ambiguous. Are they even in the right dimension? Who's even a robot? Whatever. But you got to give us a little bit of the curtain pulled back. I want to know, you know, does Rick give me something definitive? And I get that's their thing. You'll never know if Rick actually cares about something. You'll never know
don't get the process of like animation, I guess, and like what's taking so long, because it's like the same thing with Steven Universe, like, and listening to the Steven Universe podcast, they tell you like the process of the animation where everyone has to do like the first step, and then they have to send it over to Korea because that's their like partner people, and then they animate a bunch of it, and then they send it back, and then they touch up on a bunch of things, and then they send it back, and then they send it back and forth like 20 times, and they said that each 10-minute episode of Steven Universe takes 9 months.
It depends on the style of animation they use and the style of backgrounds.
It just seems like both of them are like pretty like kind of simple animation, you know? And you would think that like if shows like The Simpsons and like South Park and shit, like if they could like get it down and like budget it so that like other people can work on it and they can have like these things like somewhat pre-made to be able to animate it easier, then they would do that, you know? And I get that South Park is like very much more simple than this, but...
the whole point about South Park, is that it is so simple, and that was my example for that. But also South Park is very fucking wildly popular, so they have the resources and the team.
So is this.
But also South Park is built on being topical and quick. You know, South Park can have a Trump joke a week after Trump got elected. Yeah. Something like The Simpsons, they've been doing this for 30 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, but it just feels like that is an animated show that's been coming out for a long time, and I feel like they didn't just do 10 episodes for each year and a half.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't understand, you know, the process. And for something like Steven Universe, I don't understand when it comes out either. I don't know if it's really got a lot to do with the animation being slow, or Cartoon Network doesn't like the show, or whatever, you know. But we're in an era of like Netflix and stuff like that, where the expectations on a show
instant and all of it.
Well, mostly there's no expectations. That's what I'm trying to say, because they do so many different things. They release a batch of episodes like Steven Bombs. They release one secret episode like this first episode of this season. They do it all, like you said, for Netflix, stuff like that. Or they have whatever. And so
things are changing.
Yeah, I don't know. Me personally, I wish Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon would hire a much bigger crew so they can do something faster. But again, also,
but then that would mean that they would have to figure out what they wanted to do faster and hire more voice actors, because you're right, like the person writing, producing, whatever the show is also all of the voices in it, you know?
Yeah, and it's a massive workload. And I get it, I guess. You know, I don't want to be one of those people who sits here and says, oh, well, you know, the creators deserve to...
No, and I'm not saying it's bad. I just wanted to understand it.
Yeah, I want to understand it. And I'm not saying it's bad, but there are things that I expect, and I'm a plot-heavy person. And if this isn't the show they're trying to produce, that's fine. I'm still going to watch Rick and Morty. I love Rick and Morty. It's entertaining. However, you know, if you're going to set up this many plot points and this much character development that's implied, I want to see some payoff, okay? I want to see a red wedding. I want to see, you know, I want to see shit like that. I want to see, you know, meaningful payoffs. So, I don't know. As far as season 10, I was pretty disappointed in it, only as a finale.
Season 10.
Yeah, episode 10. Only as a finale, not as an episode itself. As an episode, it was very entertaining. As a finale, it was very lackluster for me.
Yeah.
So what are the talking points we got here?
I have Rick's relationships with all of the family.
So, I like that Rick and Jerry had an episode this time.
But this ties into one of the later points I had written down that I wanted to go over of Summer and Jerry as worthless characters, because it feels like Rick's relationship with Beth is obvious. He's her father. He wants that relationship with her, even if he doesn't like he's having some like dissonance about it. He wants it. He doesn't want it. You know, whatever. And then the same kind of thing is happening with Morty. But it's like Morty is like the child that he's getting to raise that he didn't get to raise with Beth, because now he's actually paying attention. You know.
That's true.
Which is weird that he didn't choose Summer for that. Maybe she was like too old, or because she's much more Beth. You know.
I mean,
In, like, how she acts, how she looks, how she's a woman.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Really?
No, I don't think she is that much more Beth.
You think she's more...
Cherry?
Yeah.
No, I think she's more Summer. I don't think she's very much like Beth at all.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think Morty's like Beth either, but if we go on the trail of, like, Rick wants to be a father for someone.
Well, so Summer's not high-strung like Beth.
That's true.
And Summer's not an idiot like Jerry.
Mm-hmm.
Summer kind of is on her own thing. And that's what I was saying. You know, you're talking about the characters and how lackluster they are and how worthless they are. You can argue, like, how much they contribute to the plot, but I don't think Summer is, like, she's one of the least broken characters in the show. You know, she doesn't have all these huge fucking issues. And she's a minor character.
But, like, they do give her all those issues. Like, she does drugs. Oh, her boobs aren't big enough, so she has to make herself giant.
But she doesn't have an issue with those sort of things. That's what I'm saying. Those are just teenage girls things. She's acting out. She's trying to impress a guy. Her issues, her plot points are not, I have an abandoned father. I'm secretly a psychopath. I'm in a divorce. I've seen so much shit. I'm going insane. Her plot point, you know, so I just think that Summer is kind of like the straight man or grounding for the show in a lot of ways. I mean, a lot of the gags, she's very real with everybody else, you know, like, seriously, you guys fucking erased your memory again.
Mm-hmm.
That was funny, but that was also just so normal, you know.
Well, but it didn't even seem like, seriously, you guys did this again. It felt like maybe they didn't even really tell her what was going on, because she had a code for it. It was like, oh, are you guys doing this? Okay, is it level 1, level 2? Oh my god, level 3.
Yeah, but
wow.
in talking to them, she was able to observe they didn't know who they were. I mean, it's not like she can't put two and two together.
That's true.
And she said, are you guys doing Morty's mind blowers again?
Yeah.
So she knew what was happening.
Yeah, but I mean, if you don't understand what that means, it's just a junk verb.
Yeah, but I think she understood what it means. My thing is with Summer is that I think that she's invited on their adventures often. She goes with them. There's been plenty of adventures. The Cronenberg episode in season 2. Remember when they went into the car battery and they all went to different Summer was with them. She was just hanging out in Rick's ship while Rick and Morty went inside the thing.
Yeah, but wasn't that episode or one around it, like, she was like, hey, why don't you ever take me on adventures? When? And then they finally take her, and then she's stuck in the ship the whole time?
Maybe. And that's maybe the part of the joke they were going for. But Summer goes with them. Summer was doing Vindicator and stuff like that. Yeah. Rick still treats her like a granddaughter. You know,
she wasn't Vindicators.
Not Vindicator. I'm sorry. The
Apocalypse place.
The Apocalypse episode. Yeah. So I don't know.
But I don't think it's like an often thing.
No, it's not an often thing. Like, and I just, you know, he doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. I'm fine with Summer because Summer is.
It just feels like, why don't they give them more development? Because Jerry is also just like the shit on him guy.
Well, also look at Summer's age. She's like 17 right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Summer is at the point where she's kind of being a teenager, and other than that, there's not a lot. Jerry's going through a divorce. Beth is going through, you know, my father came back into my life situation. Morty is just through puberty and stuff like that. Summer's in a stage in her life where she's pretty, I don't know, pretty solid, I guess. I never saw the need to. I never felt like Summer was being underutilized, or I never felt like Summer was presented in a way where she needed more character development. I guess that's what I'm saying. You know, they never, like, it's not like they say, like, oh, Summer's dark and battered or sad, has a horrible life or whatever, but we're not going to talk about that. She doesn't feel unfulfilled. So
the only thing that makes me feel like her and Jerry are unfulfilled is that, like, in every other season of this, it's been, okay, Morty, let's go on an adventure, and each episode has been about that adventure. And while that's, like, mostly true of this, they did so much more work in last season, and especially this season, to give more character development to Rick, Morty, and Beth. Mm-hmm. And they just, like, left the other two out of it. And they tried a couple times with each of them, like,
but they didn't really have any significant
Jerry's
changes to them.
Jerry's a piece of shit, and he can't break up with a girl, and whatever, and what, I don't know. And, like, oh, Summer, classic teenage daughter, whatever. And it just seemed like, so, like, yeah, we're trying, not, you know.
I think they're just, like, secondary characters. You know?
Yeah, but so is Beth, and they're trying to give her a lot more.
She's becoming less of a secondary character.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, but I mean, I think that's just the plot points that they want to explore.
Yeah.
You know?
It's not that I don't like what they've done, I just wish that there was more for the other two.
I get what you're saying.
If they could do it in, like, a good way, you know?
Yeah,
because, like, as a person, Jerry doesn't really interest me.
No.
Because
of
the
funny,
way that they've set him up.
Yeah, he's not interesting. But, you know, I think for a show where they have so many new characters every single episode, like, they had the guy in the one where Rick and Jerry are going on an adventure, there's that guy who hates Rick and wants to kill him and stuff like that. That alien dude.
Episode 5.
Yeah,
5.
That alien dude trying to kill Rick. Remember that?
Yeah.
He was interesting in and of himself, and he had like 6 lines the entire episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so what I'm saying is that in a show where that they can have these side characters come in and be super interesting, I get what you're saying about having a little more development, a little more interesting plots for our secondary characters who are in every episode.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many examples where I can think of guest characters having very interesting plot lines and stuff like that. So I don't know.
But it's easy to make someone interesting for like 10 seconds, you know?
And when you put them in an episode
like
after episode.
If we took, like if Jerry had never been in the show and then we took, like, the Jerry daycare episode, like, you would be like, wow, that guy's really interesting. Like, I want to know more about why he's treated this way.
Yeah. I also like that, excuse me, sorry. I like that in the episode where, this is season 2, where Jerry and Beth go counseling and they each have their creatures made off of them and stuff like that. Jerry's is obviously a little weak-ass worm.
Yeah.
Beth's is like this fucking alien queen thing. And I like that too because it almost foreshadows, like, yeah, that's how they see each other, but it's also kind of like Jerry probably knows a little bit about Beth being a nut and being like murderous and stuff like that. So I kind of like that foreshadowing in a way.
Yeah.
What else we got here? Morty development.
Yeah, we kind of already touched on this about how he's, like, grown a lot from this shell, dumb, stupid person.
Or just a child. We can just call him a child.
But he wasn't, I mean, I guess, yeah, sure, he's a child, but there are smarter children.
Yeah, it's not just about how intelligent he is. It's just Morty's an average kid thrust in.
But he wasn't even presented as average. He was presented as below average, like someone that Rick could use because he was so stupid. No one cares about him. No one would think.
Yeah, or at least at the end of
that,
season whatever, they actually say, "I actually keep you with me because your stupid rays help block my."
Yeah. And it just feels like a classic, like, abuse situation where it's like you're dumb enough that you're not going to be a problem here.
Plus, you're in my family, so you can't really run away either. Yeah. And your mom.
And then eventually he's getting, like, smarter and smarter and more jaded with the situation, and.
Yeah, I love Morty this season.
And I feel like eventually he will encounter, like, evil Morty, and maybe he'll. That's what I'm excited for, because in the beginning when we thought about will he encounter this person, like last season, my thought was, yeah, and then he'll have to, like, kill him, he'll have to show him he's, like, the better person, whatever. And now I'm thinking, like, will he even do that?
Will he just join his side?
Or will he join him?
So this show is so big on not having time travel, right?
Sure.
I think it'd be interesting if they broke that rule once and this Morty was actually like this our Morty, but in the future or something like that. Or not. But I mean, I don't know. I think it's interesting. I also think that if they ever encounter, I think, evil Morty's gonna be so, crazy, deliciously, evil. I think that our Morty's gonna be like, dude, I just don't give a shit. I encounter crazy villains like you all the fucking time, and like.
Yeah, maybe.
That's Morty's thing. He's just done with it. He just has, all the big plans. Everybody's like, oh no, there's a nuke gonna go off. Morty disarms it. The alien infestation. Morty's bored about that. Morty just is so.
I feel like he's kind of ruined though, because I feel like if they did stop doing adventures, Morty would be like lost without.
No, yeah, I don't think Morty can function without adventures at this point. I mean, he can't go back to being a normal kid.
Yeah. He'll be the new Rick once Rick dies. If Rick dies.
Morty and Morty. Yeah, or Morty and Rick.
I want to talk about Beth being a clone still, because I think that she is a clone. She just, sure, we can talk about time travel, whatever, and I'm sure there's more logical things for us to figure out whether or not, but just based on who she is as a person, like, the picture he painted for her was so, like, you want this. Like, you want to leave. You want to leave. You want to go out there and see what you can make of yourself. You want to see the rest of the world. You don't want to be stuck with your divorce on your back and your kids dealing with that. And Morty's fucking pissing his pants and Summer's doing drugs. And you don't want any part of this. You were never meant to be this person.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you, honestly.
And then immediately after, she came back
and
being
loved
like,
everybody.
Yeah,
I think the entire season they set it up that Beth's not being a great parent.
She's
the whole
very
therapy
unhappy.
episode, she's shitting all over the kids and stuff like that. She's very unhappy. She's just not into it right now. She's unfulfilled, and I think that she went on a rampage, enjoyed that. Yeah, I think she probably went left. I wouldn't imagine that off screen.
And then also, like you might say, like, oh, well, Rick told her that she wasn't, but why would Rick, and why would he, like kill her if she was a clone? Because she is exactly the same person. He's getting the exact amount of interaction that he would ever have with her.
And that was her idea.
Yeah.
That, maybe he'll kill me if,
No, because right after that, he was like, are you just saying that because you know that I'll have to put you down if you're a clone, whatever.
Oh, gotcha. If you agree in sentence or whatever, yeah. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that there's some Beth off there doing crazy Beth things.
I feel like she's a clone. Just based on principle.
Yeah. All right, what else we got?
Let's talk about our final thoughts. So what is your favorite episode of this season?
Let's review.
I'm gonna say my favorite episode is between Morty's Mind Blowers and the one where it's the Citadel, the Atlantis one.
I'm probably gonna say the Citadel or Pickle Rick.
Oh, Pickle Rick was good.
Yeah, and most of my favorite part was how fucking real between the eyes that therapist was.
Mm-hmm.
I just loved seeing something like that in a show that's so unable to like have its characters be confronted with the truths.
Yeah.
You know, I dug that. Yeah, or Fruity Land. I like Fruity Land too.
Really?
Just how fucked up the concept was.
Yeah. Very fucked up. So next final thought: would you recommend someone who has never seen Rick and Morty to watch season 3?
Just out of nowhere?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. I mean, Rick and Morty is an entertaining show, and like honestly, it's not so plot heavy and not so character development heavy. Like, you know, you can't jump into season 6 of, season 6 seasons? You can't jump into season 6 of like Breaking Bad or whatever, something like that. Like, you could, and you're probably gonna be entertained, you know, because it's just good TV. But you're not gonna have any stakes. Rick and Morty, it's got some plot, but it's mostly just a comedy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're a fan of animation and silly shit, watch Rick and Morty or sci-fi or any of that stuff.
Okay. Would you rewatch this season?
Yeah, I'm gonna rewatch the entire show. I still had some issues with the season, but that doesn't mean it was bad by any means.
This feels like the Game of Thrones argument where like things went awry in the last season and everyone's like, I'm out, I'm not watching it anymore. But like, yes you are.
Yeah. Now, I'm just gonna dip into Game of Thrones for a second. I think Game of Thrones season 7 was much worse than Rick and Morty season 3.
Yeah, well,
had some way bigger issues. But yeah.
Okay, and then last point. What are your expectations for the next season?
I mean, holy fuck, I want to see a confrontation with President Morty and everybody else. I want to see some more weight with that. I want to see maybe Beth do some crazy adventure shit. Beth become a villain, kind of cool.
I want to learn definitively, is she a clone or not?
Yeah, you know, I just want to see some stakes.
I would like it if Jerry and Summer had like a little bit more development in personality and stuff, but also like I'd be okay if they didn't. I don't know. And then I want to see more confrontation emotionally between Rick and Morty and the other Mortys and Ricks and stuff.
I would like to see Rick and Morty have an actual fight, disagreement, stuff like that. You know, I don't know. Like our Rick and our Morty.
Mm-hmm.
That would be kind of cool. You know, I just want to see more goofy sci-fi shit, but I would also like to see some. So let's talk about this. Mm-hmm. How long can you see the show running for? Like, not based on popularity, but based on plot.
Oh my god. I'm sorry. Probably. I mean, I could see it going on several more seasons.
Okay. I mean, I just think that they you know, they really need.
Because, like, the plot is so loose that they can just, like, do whatever they want as long as they can keep
people interested.
Well, as long as they can keep thinking of, like, crazy things.
But don't you think that eventually fans... Okay, so my thing is this. You look at the characters, and they all have pretty... I wouldn't say pretty simple arcs, but they all have pretty simple arcs. They don't have pretty, like, easy arcs. Like Rick, hard-boiled, finds out he loves his family. Or not finds out, but, like, shows that. And, you know, he can either throw that away fully, or he can embrace it. Mm-hmm. That's one of two endings. Or he can go nihilism Rick and, you know, whatever.
I picture at the end of the whole series that it would be like some resolution in personality or zero resolution, and Rick's fucking dead and Morty realizes that he can't not adventure, so then he either gets a new Rick or he like spends the rest of his life super depressed and then kills himself. Yeah. Well, and I've like heard several theories about how Rick's about to kill himself anyway, so like
he's basically attempted suicide in one of the season 1 or 2 when he had that brain melting machine or whatever. And then like Morty, his character arc is he's gonna get hardened and then he's going to do something. I don't know. I just want to see some of these stories go to their next logical step. But honestly, I don't think they have enough main characters to like develop with, and like they haven't set up enough stuff for Beth or for Summer and Jerry. So I don't think I need to be grown necessarily, but I think that like they're going to not really run out of plot points, because again, it's a show where it's episodic and you can do goofy shit all the time, but like, you know, plot heavy stuff, they're going to need to do some more.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for season 4. I hope it's not 2 years long. Have you heard about there's still theories that there's going to be a second finale. Have I told you about that?
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, there's theories that there might be a secret finale coming still. And there's also theories that there's going to be a Christmas episode based on what MPP said.
Well, I'd be interested if there was another episode coming out to see if it...
I'd be mad because we just did a podcast on season 3 and...
Well, to see if it had any more, like, development as far as the characters and stuff, because the actual finale was pretty lackluster, but...
Yeah. Alright, cool. I don't think I have anything else to say.
No. Go check out Rick and Morty if you haven't already. And then if you want to hear more from us, we are currently on YouTube and SoundCloud with our podcasts, and then on YouTube we also do a bunch of Let's Plays and stuff.
And Kenya streams on Twitch.
Oh yeah, and I stream on Twitch Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but this last week I didn't do that at all. So basically Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 2 to 5, but I have to figure out how to make it not lag.
It's whatever.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out for our next podcast, which I believe is either going to be over Blade Runner or Good Game, the new YouTube Red show by Game Grumps.
Yes.
So if you're interested in that, please check us out. Give us a like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah.
Bye.